Welcome to this episode of The Good, The Bad and The Odd One Out with your host Mark. In this one I'd like to talk about the 4 Rambo movies. Alright, the first Rambo movie was First Blood. This was a different kettle of fish from the rest of the series, really. This was a nice taut thriller where John Rambo, a veteran, just wants a bite to eat and a cup of coffee, but the sheriff acts like a bit of this little town in the mountains, acts like a dick, just drives him through town and tells him the next place along is 30 miles up the road. That's no way to talk to someone. He's pretending to be a nice guy, but he's a dick. Rambo won't have this, goes back into town. The sheriff takes him in. Then they try and dry shave him. Now, he's obviously a man with problems. They know it. They can tell he's a war veteran from his dress. He's got scars all over him, and then they hold him down to try and dry shave him, and basically takes out pretty much the whole police department and escapes. And that includes punching. I think he might have even broken the nose of one of the older guys, who's obviously a long-term friend of the main sheriff, played really well by Brian Dennehy. There's a really quite good chase with Stallone on a motorbike and the sheriff chasing him on a car through all sorts of roads, rough terrain, over rocks, where Rambo gets away. However, they're hunting him. The guy who's the sheriff's friend goes after him with a helicopter. Instead of just hunting him down, trying to catch him, he starts taking shots at Rambo, who can't get away. And this all happens in an updraft. The helicopter can't stay stable. Rambo throws a rock, puts the pilot off, who sways the craft. The man falls out, dies. Then it becomes a real vengeance kind of thing. The sheriff has to get him, and they go hunting for him in the woods, not really knowing what they're facing. Now, there's a really spectacular sequence here where there's men and dogs hunting one man in the woods, but they're hunting a man who really knows jungle warfare, guerrilla warfare, and knows exactly what it has to do, and is prepared to do it. He basically hobbles everyone, or injures them, incapacitates them in quite brutal ways, but he doesn't kill any in an attempt for them to stop it. And he finally gets to the sheriff and he warns him, let it go. And he goes off into the woods, but the sheriff won't, goes in the National Guard. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all of this. Basically, this is a really nice thriller. I hate to use the word realistic, but comparatively, compared to the other films in this series, it's a fairly realistic thriller. There are things in it that are plainly not realistic. He falls like hundreds of feet through trees and gets apart from a gash on his arm, gets no injuries, and can run around after it. Things like that. All right, they're not realistic, but compared to the film to come, yeah, this is a nice taut thriller. It's tragic. It highlights something that I think a lot of Vietnam veterans may have felt about being isolated and not allowed back into their own society that they'd gone to fight for, and made you think about that. There's some good scenes in it. I really enjoyed this film. I think it's a good thriller. There's a bit at the end where Stallone is acting, and it's quite good acting, but unfortunately when he talks it sounds kind of like gibberish, which kind of raises a giggle, from some audience members. But I thought it was a pretty good film, and I kind of felt for Rambo as a character. Troutman, which I think was played by Richard Crenna, his former colonel, was a really well. Everyone in this was pretty good. Brian Dennehy was good. Richard Crenna was good. Stallone was good. Really good performance from Stallone. I'm a big fan of a lot of Stallone's stuff, especially his early stuff. I'm a fan of this. I like the first of all, Rocky. Well, I like quite a lot of the Rocky films. I also like other films that you don't ever hear about anymore. Like, for example, I'm a real big fan of this kind of 30s comedy, hard luck life kind of story he did about 3 brothers growing up in, I think, Hell's Kitchen in the 30s. It's called Paradise Alley. Really like that film. There's another one that you rarely hear anything about these days. But First Blood, really good. John Rambo's a really quite effective character. In terms of a score, I'd give this one 73 out of 100. I liked it a lot. Liked it a real lot. And I have described it as realistic, but just take that with a pinch of salt. It's all relative. Right, that led to a sequel, Rambo First Blood Part 2, or sometimes called, I think, Rambo 2. I'm not quite sure. Now, this is a different kind of thing entirely. It starts with him in, like, doing hard time, being asked to go and survey some things in Vietnam, and he basically gets back to Vietnam. I think James Cameron was one of the writers on this. Now, this film is a cartoonish action film. However, it's a really, really well done cartoonish action film. The fighting's kind of ridiculous. Rambo is pretty much a Superman. No matter what they do to him, he kind of just bounces back and doesn't seem bothered at all by what's happening to him. He's spouting lines that are kind of cheesy, but they're kind of gung-ho and go on America. And stuff like, do we get to win the war this time? And things like that. And to win war, you have to become war and all this kind of stuff. I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, this. It was silly, but it was fun. There's stuff like, you'll know the tropes that come in this film if you've ever seen Hot Shots Part 2. There's like exploding arrows and men just blowing up. A bit like, if you've seen The End of Live and Let Die, where Mr. Big swallows an airthing and blows up. There's one that a guy blows up while standing on a rock that's just like that. There's some kind of quite cool helicopter scenes and fights and stuff. I just liked it. It was like, you really got angry when Rambo got one guy out and he was just about to be rescued, and then the scumbag and the other, the one who's like there to try and save government money, tells them to abort the mission, leaves Rambo back. Oh man, that's aggravating. Go on, Rambo, go get him. This worked on quite a lot of levels. It's very visceral. I liked it. I thought it was good. Good fun. I think this one for me, though it's an entirely different film, it rates to me about the same as the first one. I'd give it 72 out of 100. I just thought it was a lot of fun. It was lean and it was fit for purpose. It really was. It did exactly what it was supposed to do and did it really well. However, led to another sequel, Rambo 3, this time set in Afghanistan, and we get things like Rambo playing games with the Mujahideen because the evil Russians are like been gassing the people. Now, there's a lot of things in this suggesting how evil the Russians are, but it just feels all a bit contrived. It's basically there. It doesn't feel earned. It feels like they're saying these things just to give Rambo an excuse to kill Russians. However, it's Rambo. It doesn't need an excuse. Just let him get on with it. It had a certain coldness, this film. It wasn't as much fun as the second one. Some of it just didn't feel earned, and it felt a bit too grim in places to be enjoyable. There was things in it. I think they didn't put enough into making you understand what the Afghan people were going into to make it work, but they put in just enough to make you feel kind of bad about watching an action film. It needed either a bit more or a bit less of the human element, I think, and it didn't quite succeed. However, it was still okay. I give it 60 out of 100. It's a big step down for me from the first two. And then we get to the more recent one, which was made in 2008, where this time Rambo is involved in Burma, where the military are committing all sorts of atrocities against their own people, or maybe different races within Burma, I'm not quite sure actually. But Rambo's there to try and rescue some aid workers that have gone in. He doesn't want to get involved, and he keeps saying to the aid worker, just go home, you're not going to change anything here. But in the end, he does go back. The crew of mercenaries join him, which is kind of interesting. And they just think he's just the guy driving the boat, but he's... Now, this one did earn, and it's violence, if you know what I mean. You did feel for the people. You did kind of get what was going on there. I think they just spent a little more time in that, and the aid workers explaining things to him made it feel more real. In that sense, it wasn't cartoonish at all like Rambo 2. There was a feeling of this, this is real war kind of thing. I hesitate to say it's like Saving Private Ryan, but it had that a more realistic feel, and it was incredibly violent. But I think, as I say, it earned it much more than, say, Rambo 3, which was also violent. But I don't think it worked as well. I kind of enjoyed this to watch. It was tense. It was exciting. It was good to see the real scumbags get in their comeuppance at the hands of Rambo and the other mercenaries. And it was good to see some of the other mercenaries had just enough in there to give them a bit of character and a bit of light and shade as well. So it was pretty good. I'd give this one 60 out of 100. Overall, I think this is a good solid 4 films. The third one was the dip for me. And the fourth one didn't reach the heights of the first two, but it was decent, you know. But the first two, really solid pair of films, those are. I'd recommend this. I'm sure you've probably seen them, but I think the first two are definitely worth a look. Especially the second. I think while the first one's a thriller, tense thriller, the second one's got something about it that just makes you, gets your heart pounding and makes you feel kind of, yeah, go, kind of thing. And if you catch it on the TV sometimes, just sit and watch the rest of it. It's fun. Okay then, that covers Rambo.